Hey y'all, it is September the 6th, 2018, and I'm fixing to read y'all probably the most, one of the most disgusting things that I've ever, ever been introduced to. It's coming courtesy of Deadline. The headline reads this: if you're ready for it, let me tell you, it's a roller coaster. You already know we've been covering that lady. Some believe she's a dude. I don't know. I can't say. But Asia Argento. I don't think she's a dude. I don't know. Asia Argento claims Jimmy Bennett sexual. I mean, if you already know what we've been talking about, you're laughing too. Sexually attacked her. And now she launches phase two of the hashtag Me Too movement. This is written by Dino Ray. Dino Ray Ramos. That's a cool name. So he wrote this article, and basically he's running down a statement that he's seen. All this, what we passed up, that's Dino Ray talking about a statement. But thing is, we could just read that statement, and it's going to pretty much repeat what Dino Ray just said. So I thought we'd go straight to the statement, while we're here. Asia Argento launches phase two of the Me Too movement. All right. Let's see what kind of update we got. Now, it reads my client, Asia Argento. So unless this is completely fabricated, this is directly from the lawyer, attorney of Asia Argento. So without further ado, one of the most disgusting things ever. My client, Asia Argento, was one of the pioneers of phase one. I didn't know there was phases of phase one of the hashtag Me Too movement. And her bravery in standing up to Harvey Weinstein, who she accused of raping her, inspired many other women who purported to have also been victims of Harvey Weinstein to come forward out of the shadows and bravely voice their unfortunate experiences. All right, so that is to say that not all of the women who had relations with Harvey Weinstein, they haven't all come out. They're keeping that to themselves for whatever reason. I guess we'll continue. They started phase one. Let's go into phase two. All right. This movement has evolved. And this is from the lawyer, Asia Argento. This movement has evolved into a new worldwide philosophy wherein victims of sexual assaults now no longer recoil nor feel stigmatized, i.e. Jimmy Bennett, and afraid to spotlight their abusers because they are empowered by the unity of other victims and the newfound tolerance of society to accept their accusations without condemning them, the victims. Right? For whatever that's worth. I mean, I'm not sure how you feel about it. My client helped steer the course to propel a new dynamic conversation in society, a veritable phase two of the hashtag MeToo movement, and she intends to speak out on the allegations and stand strong by her own example. Speak out on the allegations. She intends to speak out on the allegations the allegations towards her or Harvey Weinstein. I'm not sure what she means by that. Let's see. In the past, victims of sexual abuse were deterred from coming forward because of their fear that the defense strategies would be to attack the victim's credibility. I want y'all to remember that phrase specifically. We're going to cover that a little bit later. All right, so let's reread that. All right, in the past, victims of sexual abuse were deterred from coming forward because of their fear that the defense strategies would be to attack the victim's credibility, these key words, by drudging up any gray areas of their past and thereby besmirching their reputation. All right, that's going to come up later. Asia believes that all victims, whether or not they have led a blemishless life, should have the courage to come forward. Is she talking about Jimmy Bennett or is she talking about herself? I don't know. Asia believes that all victims, whether or not they have led a blemishless life, should have the courage to come forward and not be afraid that the abuse that they are complaining of will be colored by any negative dynamics of their history. Is she talking about herself or Jimmy Bennett? Or is she talking about both them and everybody else? In the absence of this, many sexual perpetrators would avoid prosecution because their victims would be afraid to come forward. Asia believes that no sexual predator, all right, I want you to, these are all, you're going to have to remember this. Asia believes, this is what Asia believes, right? Yeah. Asia believes that no sexual predator should be granted a pass. No sexual predator should be granted a pass simply because the victim has some gray area in their background and therefore would be reluctant to seek redress against the perpetrator. Who is she talking about? I don't know. Let's see if she can elaborate, or at least our attorneys can elaborate. This is phase 2 of the hashtag MeToo movement. A victim who has some negative history should have the courage to come forward and say, me too. I was a victim of sexual assault, and whatever might color my past does not negate the truth of what happened to me. Frequently, in the court of public opinion, the media conveys many incomplete and sometimes inaccurate facts that impact the public's opinion. Oh, really? Oh, man, they're breaking eggs of knowledge on us, y'all. Frequently, let me just read it one more. Frequently, in the court of public opinion, the media conveys many incomplete and sometimes inaccurate facts that impact the public's opinion. And this sometimes results in an unfair impression of the victim and inaccurate presentation of the facts as they actually happen. I tend to agree. In Asia's circumstance, although it was alleged in the August 20th, 2018 New York Times article that she initiated a sexual attack on Bennett, who was 17 years old at the time, Asia had at no time initiated a sexual encounter with Bennett, and in fact, as she stated in her response to the New York Times article concerning her past history, I have never, this is a quote, quote, I have never had any sexual relationship with Bennett, end quote. Those are quotes. This is completely accurate. Says her lawyer, her relationship with Bennett was never, he uses the word never, sexual, but rather the relationship was a long distance friendship over many years between a 12-year-old boy and a woman well into her 30s. As revealed in text messages published by TMZ, Asia stated here's some more quotes. The horny kid jumped me. I had sex with them. It felt weird. There was no period, but it's all right. It felt weird. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry. So she never had, remember, she never had a relationship with him, ever. Not of any sort of sexual kind, but she did have a sexual relationship with him, and it felt weird. That was a quote. So, I mean, obviously, you already know where we're going, and we're past the point of no return, basically, I think. All right, we're head over heels up in loop-de-loop land, right? Right now, she went on to relate that she became frozen, and it just becomes so weird because now she's gonna describe, or her attorney is gonna describe that she went on and she became frozen when he was on top of her, and he told her that she had been his sexual fantasy since he was 12 years old. This is completely over the top, y'all. So she became frozen, according to Asia's attorney. Asia chose at the time not to prosecute Bennett for sexually attacking her. So she admits that she chose not to prosecute Bennett for the sexual interaction that they never, ever, ever had, according to her. It was also inaccurately revealed. See, it's going to get worse and worse because you remember that $380,000. Remember that? That's going to come up right now. It was also inaccurately revealed that a $380,000 settlement had been paid by Asia to Bennett in an attempt to preclude Bennett from making any allegations against Asia, which would certainly create the impression that Asia was responsible for the alleged incident, because why else, is a long sentence, why else would someone pay $380,000? I don't know why else. We're going to discuss that. Why else would someone pay $380,000 to an alleged accuser when when the accuser was the perpetrator and not the victim? That's a pretty interesting question. That's a $380,000 question for you. These aforesaid facts have apparently created a public perception that falsely conveyed the impression that Asia initiated and engaged in intercourse with Bennett and was trying to avoid detection by making a $380,000 payment. Yeah, it really did look like that. It did. A lot of people thought it looked like that. In fact, the payment agreement did not see, this is where it's like, dude, what they're doing. What the lawyer is doing is he's saying to whoever reads this statement, you are complete and blithering a retard. I can't believe that you can read, because I'm about to tell you some stuff that there's no way that you're going to believe. All right, so with that in mind, let me read this. In fact, the payment agreement did not preclude Bennett from making any statements about the event or preclude him from filing a criminal complaint against Asia. Okay, so an agreement that they admit was made. They admit it was made. They said, okay, it's a secret agreement about, don't you even worry about it. All right? But it had nothing to do with shutting Bennett up about that one time that Bennett actually sexually assaulted Asia, according to Asia. Now, she was deep into her 30s, and he was a 17-year-old boy. All right? But even though he did that, and then later on there was an agreement made, that agreement had nothing to do with the sexual encounter. Anyways, when Bennett learned of the romantic relationship between Asia and Anthony Bourdain and believing that Anthony Bourdain was wealthy and had an outstanding reputation to protect, and that they were both vulnerable. Gosh, his sentences are like run-on sentences, dude. Anthony Bourdain, he might have had money, but guess who also had money? Asia Argento. She comes from money. That's where she comes from, is money. All right? So let's gloss over that detail with this run-on sentence right here. When Bennett learned of the romantic relationship between Asia and Anthony Bourdain, by the way, very public that Asia was cheating on Bourdain. Extremely public, absolutely documented, right? So when Bennett learned of the romantic relationship between Asia and Anthony Bourdain, and believing that Anthony Bourdain was wealthy and had an outstanding reputation to protect, and that they were both vulnerable to embarrassment because they were recognized as early and prominent supporters of the hashtag MeToo movement, Bennett chose to intrude on that relationship, just like many other suitors probably were intruding on that particular relationship, and demanded a financial payment from Bourdain in consideration for not embarrassing Asia, and indirectly Bourdain by virtue. This is the longest sentence in the world. All right, indirectly Bourdain by virtue of Bourdain's relationship with Asia. All right, so before we go any further, we've already established that Asia's never had sexual relations with Jimmy Bennett. However, she did admit to having sexual relations with Jimmy Bennett, but also says that it was kind of weird, but also later says that Jimmy Bennett actually sexually assaulted her. So she let that go. See, she says Jimmy Bennett sexually assaulted her when he was in fact a minor, and she was deep into her 30s. All right, and she let that go undetected for years until Anthony Bourdain came into the situation, in which Jimmy Bennett, he was like, dude, I'm gonna get some money. I'm gonna get some of that Anthony Bourdain money. Now, never mind that Asia Argento comes from money. She has buku money. All right, Jimmy Bennett waits until this particular moment to confront Asia and tell Asia, hey, look, remember that one time I sexually assaulted you, and then, you shut the hell up about it. Well, I'm going to now say that, you probably sexually assaulted me because I was actually a minor and you were deep into your 30s, all right? So then Anthony Bourdain, he comes to an agreement with Jimmy Bennett. He says, I agree to pay you $380,000. That's a lot of money, and I'll pay you this even though our agreement has nothing to do, absolutely nothing to do with the sexual encounter that you obviously had with Asia Argento, which at the same time never ever existed. All right, your brain, if you really tried to calculate that, would explode. It would explode. All right, and this is a long statement, so just to go ahead and see if we can complete it, Asia was completely against this approach. See, Asia, she didn't want to pay off Jimmy Bennett for that one time Jimmy Bennett sexually assaulted her when he was a minor and she was deep into her 30s. Asia didn't want to do that. She's completely against that. She's completely against Bourdain spending all his hard-earned money to... She was completely against this approach because she had done nothing wrong. Remember, she didn't do nothing wrong. She didn't do nothing wrong, you guys. She was only deep in her 30s. She only had relations with Jimmy Bennett and then completely denied it, and then completely admitted to it. Right? Asia was completely just not in the wrong, and especially since the incident was initiated by and perpetrated by Bennett against her. But she respected Anthony's choice. Because she respects Anthony. She has a whole lot of respect for him. All right, except when he's not around. But she respected his choice to spend all his hard-earned money to avoid the potential uh, uh, to avoid the potential intrusion into their relationship and the negative impact it might have against Bourdain and his high-profile position in the media community. Now that Mr. Bourdain has passed away and is no longer able to no longer able to comment on his desire to avoid potential scandal or maybe to deny what you're saying right now while he's passed away. Right? Let's repeat it. Now that Mr. Bourdain has passed away and can no longer defend himself against our accusations, in which we said he has a desire to avoid potential scandal, which resulted in his facilitating payment to Bennett. Asia will no longer permit any portion of the balance. See, it's already been nutballs, but dude, they can't even stop, won't even stop. Look, Aisha will not permit any portion of the balance of the $308,000 to be paid to Bennett, who has already received a cool $250,000 from Anthony Bourdain himself. It's like, dude, I don't know what you're talking about, Aisha. I don't know what you're talking about. Are you saying that you're not going to pay him $130,000 of your money? Because I know that you have that much. I know that you have well more than that. All right. Are you saying that you're not going to pay him $130,000 to finish off the balance of your money, or are you talking about Anthony Bourdain's estate? Because you don't have. I bet you don't have access to that anyways. No, it looks like you're just trying to get out of the payment, the rest of the payment. You know you owe about $130,000 to Bennett, and you're not going to pay it. And meanwhile, Bennett has a problem with that. He might just start talking. He might just start giving more details, right? So anyway, she's not going to permit any more of the payment. She recognizes that this may very well inspire Bennett to make further false allegations against her. Oh, it might. An attempt to besmirch her sterling reputation and diminish her credibility in her accusations against Harvey Weinstein. However, Aisha's courage to originally make the accusation against Harvey Weinstein has not waned, and she believes that whether or not the public finally realizes that she did nothing wrong. Oh my Lanta. How many times you gotta say the actual phrase, she did nothing wrong? Because that was the second time. And was herself a victim. She did nothing wrong, and she was a victim. That phase 2 of the #MeToo movement dictates that the voice of a victim, even one with a history that may be in question, should be heard. And she is hopeful that in the court of public opinion, it will ultimately be determined that Aisha never initiated an inappropriate sexual contact with a minor, but rather she was attacked by Bennett and might even be suffering the fallback of a smear campaign by those already accused, who may have vested interest in their accusers being denied credibility. That's right. Like we said before, Aisha, she's concerned about a fallback from a smear campaign. And that's what they were talking about earlier. Remember that victims, they might become victims of smear campaigns just to shut them up. People might smear the reputation of victims in order to shut them up. Isn't that a novel idea? That's interesting. All right, so just to continue, it is also very relevant and most ironic to point out that Bennett himself was alleged to have been charged in 2014 at the Los Angeles Police Department with unlawful sex with a minor, stalking, and child pornography. All right, so remember when they were talking about absolutely smearing somebody, like a smear campaign? Not even a paragraph later. Check this out. Look, what is this? What is this? So, okay, all right, y'all are talking about smearing victims, smearing their credibility, right? What is this? You're talking about 4 years ago. You're talking about Bennett. You're trying to talk bad about Bennett right now. You're trying to perhaps smear his credibility. So 4 years ago, at the Los Angeles Police Department, he was charged with unlawful sex with a minor. He was charged with it. He wasn't convicted, was he? No. He was charged with it, but he wasn't convicted because you said nothing. You're saying nothing about a conviction. I see nothing about a conviction here. Ironically, this seems like you're trying to. I don't know why I think to say it seems like you're trying to smear Jimmy Bennett with some sort of charges. 4 years ago, mind you. 4 years ago. I want you to remember the year, the number 4. 4 years ago, he was charged. No, he wasn't convicted. No. All right, but let's continue. And it was alleged by the complaint in that matter that Bennett manipulated her into sending him naked photos. And it was alleged by that complaint that Bennett had a history of drug use. Oh, really? Oh, all right. Well, that's plenty smeared, isn't it? Interestingly enough, despite this crazy tangled web of sexual interactions, Asia still believes that pursuant to phase 2 of the Me Too movement, in which she's quarterbacking, a movement that, by the way, she didn't start that movement. Come to find out, it's actually a movement. The Me Too movement was started back in 2006, and since then, Asia has hijacked it. All right. So Asia believes, after she hijacked it, that pursuant to phase 2 of the hashtag Me Too movement, Bennett's troubled history, be it true or false, be it that conviction or no conviction, we're going to bring it up for no reason, should not preclude Bennett from making his allegations against her any more than Asia's allegations against Harvey Weinstein should not be made. Asia believes that in phase 2 of the hashtag Me Too movement, everyone should come forward and tell their stories, regardless of their past, which in Asia's circumstances constitutes a misunderstood interaction between her and Bennett that was initiated by Bennett, perpetrated upon Asia, and resulting in her freezing and being placed in a state of shock deep into her 30s by a minor. Asia is hopeful that as both phase 1 and phase 2 of the hashtag Me Too movement evolves, that society will understand that no one is perfect. No one is perfect. And that everyone has the right to be heard, and that justice will ultimately prevail under What is justice, Asia? How long is this damn statement? I thought I would get to the end, y'all. But it's tough. It's tough on me. Something, this and that about Asia thinks that there should be justice for everybody. Something, fake news. Asia does not intend to prosecute Bennett for his conduct and recognizes that his unfortunate past, his stalled. Oh my God! Not only are they smearing him, but they're like really bullying him in the statement. Wow. Unfortunate past, his stalled acting career, and lawsuit against parents. Blah blah blah. Smearing Jimmy Bennett. All right. Blah blah blah. Anyways, Asia and her lawyer, I think what they mean to say is that they feel like everybody should come out with their allegations. Probably. They want some sort of justice. I don't know what it is. I don't know what they mean, because whatever justice it was that Harvey Weinstein got coming to him, Asia's is probably equal to, if not, it should be worse. In fact, it probably should be worse, objectively speaking, right? So, Asia and her lawyer are both admitting that whatever justice Harvey Weinstein receives, that Asia should receive that and then some. That's what they're saying. Meanwhile, they're still going after Harvey Weinstein, expecting all sort of justice. What is justice? They won't tell you. All right, they won't tell you. But here's the thing. I mean, it's a long. Look at this statement. I mean, they won't tell you what justice is. I'll let you know. Justice is strongly considering putting that lady up in jail and putting her lawyer up in jail for thinking that they can write this, that they can write these statements, thereby calling everybody a retard, thereby saying, look, we're above the law. We're telling you we're above the law, right? So they're so above the law, they need to get investigated right now. I'm talking about quick, fast. They're up to no good. They need to be thrown in jail if we're going to have jails. I don't know. I don't believe in jails, but if we're going to have them, this is ridiculous. And I'll holler at y'all a little bit later. Got to go to sleep. September the 6th, 2018. Got to know that I appreciate y'all. I'll holler at y'all.